Welcome, Warhammer fans. Imagine you're deep in the darkness of the 41st millennium, surrounded by the shadows of forgotten worlds, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs. Today, we're diving headfirst into the eerie, gripping universe of Alec Worley's The Watcher, a tale that doesn't just send chills down your spine, it plunges you into the cold void of fear itself. If you're ready for a story that intertwines the raw brutality of the Warhammer 40K universe with an unsettling psychological thriller, then you're in the right place. Before we get into the meat of this review, let's set the stage. The Watcher is part of the ever-expanding Warhammer 40K literary universe, a franchise that has enthralled fans with its dark lore and complex characters for decades. Alec Worley, an author known for his deep dives into the Grimdark genre, brings his unique flavor to the Warhammer saga with this novel. The book follows the story of a mysterious character whose actions ripple through the shadowy underbelly of Imperial society, bringing to light secrets that many would prefer stayed buried. It's a tale of suspense, horror, and relentless tension, right up the alley of any Warhammer enthusiast. In this review, we're going to break down The Watcher in its entirety, so fair warning, spoilers ahead. We'll start by exploring the central characters and the dark, twisted plot that Worley has masterfully crafted. Then, we'll dive into the book's themes, particularly how it captures the essence of the Warhammer universe while also bringing something fresh to the table. We'll discuss Worley's writing style, the pacing of the novel, and how it stacks up against other Warhammer 40K literature. Finally, we'll wrap up with my overall thoughts and whether The Watcher is a must-read for fans of the franchise. So, if you're curious about what lurks in the shadows of this novel, stick around, there's a lot to uncover. Part 1 of The Watcher in the Rain introduces us to the setting of a rain-soaked, dystopian landscape dominated by the imposing Ministeratum Tower 27 on Mestric 6. The story begins with the evacuation of the tower's inhabitants, a process described with the efficiency and ruthlessness characteristic of the Imperium. The looming threat of an Obscurus-class warp storm adds an urgent, almost apocalyptic tone to the proceedings. The opening scene is set on a bridge leading to a landing platform, where citizens are hurriedly boarding evacuation vessels. The evacuation is portrayed as chaotic yet systematic, reflecting the Imperium's relentless focus on order even in the face of impending disaster. The narrative emphasizes the efficiency expected by the Imperium, as citizens are urged to move faster, with references to their previous lives, like the mention of Brandon High School, adding a stark contrast between past normalcy and current desperation. A key moment occurs when an Adept, accompanied by a customized calculus servitor, tries to board the transport. The servitor, a manifestation of the Imperium's reliance on technology fused with the human form, becomes a point of contention. The dialogue highlights the cold bureaucracy of the Imperium, where even personal ownership is subject to the whims of authority. The servitor, despite its years of service and customization, is discarded without a second thought, a stark reminder of the disposability of both machines and, by extension, the people within the Imperium. The dialogue between the Adept and the security officers further intensifies the tension. The Adept's insistence on his right to keep the servitor, backed by official documents, is met with blunt dismissal. This exchange not only sets the tone for the story, but also reveals the rigid hierarchy and the dehumanizing nature of the Imperium's bureaucracy. The scene where the servitor is thrown over the side of the platform underscores the brutal efficiency with which the Imperium operates, stripping away any sense of personal attachment or individuality. The description of the environment is rich with atmospheric detail, creating a sense of impending doom. The ongoing rainfall, calculated to the exact second, symbolizes the relentless and inescapable forces that the characters are up against. The looming storm, predicted to cut off the planet from the rest of the Imperium, adds to the tension, making the evacuation not just a matter of procedure but a race against time. The interaction between the Adept and the security officers is central to this part of the story. The Adept's desperation to save his servitor contrasts with the officer's cold adherence to protocol. This dynamic serves to illustrate the broader themes of power and control within the Imperium. The Adept, though seemingly insignificant, represents the struggle of the individual against the overwhelming force of the state. The power dynamics at play are evident as the Adept's authority is quickly undermined by the security officers. Despite his position and the documents he presents, his appeals are ignored, showcasing the harsh reality of the Imperium's hierarchical society. The officers, acting on orders, reflect the unyielding nature of the Imperium's power structure, where even the smallest dissent is crushed without hesitation. The themes introduced in Part 1 are quintessentially Warhammer 40K, power, control, and survival in a universe where mercy is a rare commodity. The Imperium's brutal efficiency, as seen in the treatment of the Adept and his servitor, reflects the larger narrative of the Warhammer 40K universe, where humanity's survival hinges on its ability to enforce order at any cost. The rain and the approaching storm symbolize the inevitable destruction that looms over the characters, a common motif in the 40K universe that emphasizes the fragility of life in the face of cosmic horrors. The story also taps into the deeper lore of Warhammer 40K, with references to the Warp Storm and the Imperium's bureaucratic systems. The Servitor, a blend of man and machine, is a direct nod to the Mechanicus and the Imperium's reliance on cybernetic enhancements to maintain its vast empire. The cold, calculated nature of the Imperium's operations, as depicted in this part, serves as a microcosm of the larger Imperium, where humanity has traded compassion for survival in an unforgiving universe. Part 2 of The Watcher in the Rain thrusts us into a high-stakes pursuit. The scene opens with Trooper Braxis communicating with his superiors as they attempt to track down a suspicious female adept who has fled a checkpoint on Bridge 37-12. The urgency in Braxis's voice and the subsequent orders reveal the deep paranoia and rigid control exercised by the Imperium, especially when dealing with potential heretics. The narrative quickly establishes a sense of urgency as Trooper Braxis orders servo skulls to scan all connecting ladders and stairwells, hoping to track the fleeing adept. The servo skulls, floating skulls embedded with surveillance equipment, are a testament to the grim reality of life in the Imperium, where even death does not guarantee peace, as one's remains can be repurposed for eternal service. Braxis's failure to secure the target on the bridge highlights the intense pressure on the Imperium's lower ranks. The swift and harsh response from Interrogator Cruscious, who takes command of the situation, further emphasizes the unforgiving nature of the Imperium's hierarchy. Cruscious's decision to handle the pursuit personally, refusing to delegate the task to the sentries, suggests not only a confidence in his abilities but also a need for control, common among those in the Inquisition. The dialogue between Braxis and Cruscious is loaded with tension. Cruscious, as a representative of the Inquisition, wields an almost terrifying authority. His refusal to heed Braxis's warnings about the looming warp storm underscores his focus on the task at hand, capturing the Adept, over all other considerations, even those as significant as an impending warp storm. This decision reflects the Inquisition's notorious reputation for prioritizing its own objectives above all else, often at great cost. As Cruscious invokes the name of his master, Inquisitor Itrox, we gain insight into the weight that the Inquisition carries within the Imperium. The mere mention of Itrox's flawless reputation is enough to quell any doubts Braxis might have had. The Inquisition's influence is omnipresent, and its agents, like Cruscious, are often feared as much as the threats they pursue. This interaction highlights the almost mythical status that senior Inquisitors hold within the Imperium, where their names alone can inspire both fear and unwavering obedience. The interaction between Braxis and Cruscious is a study in power dynamics within the Imperium. Braxis, initially confident in his role, is quickly reduced to a nervous subordinate as Cruscious exerts his authority. Cruscious's condescending tone and the implicit threat in his words reflect the arrogance that often accompanies those who serve the Inquisition, believing themselves above reproach due to their vital role in safeguarding the Imperium. Cruscious emerges as a character defined by his unwavering confidence and a touch of sadism, particularly in his anticipation of the upcoming interrogation. His command to prepare an interview chamber aboard the shuttle, complete with a clean chair, tested restraints, and sanctified tools, paints a chilling picture of the methods employed by the Inquisition. These details reveal Cruscious as a man who not only follows orders but relishes the process of extracting information, reflecting the dark side of the Imperium's justice system. Part 3. Part 3 of The Watcher in the Rain takes us into the shadowy confines of the scriptorium, a place of both refuge and impending doom for our protagonist, Adept Selena Malice, who is now revealed to be operating under the alias of Shridder. The tension escalates as she attempts to print a sacred warrant of conveyance, a desperate bid to escape the tightening grip of the Imperium's enforcers. The atmosphere in this part is thick with dread as Selena navigates the darkened scriptorium. Her familiarity with the space is overshadowed by the creeping panic of her situation. The scriptorium, typically a place of order and sanctity, is now a labyrinth of shadows and uncertainty. The power cuts, symbolized by the generator shutdown, mirror Selena's own loss of control over her fate. As Selena frantically tries to find something useful in the scroll caskets, her actions are tinged with desperation. This moment highlights the fragility of her situation. Once a dutiful adept, she is now reduced to a fugitive grasping at anything that might save her. The physical darkness around her is a perfect metaphor for her mental state, trapped in a situation with no clear escape. The arrival of Interrogator Stefan Cruscious marks a critical shift in the narrative. His calm, authoritative presence contrasts sharply with Selena's frantic movements. Cruscious represents the cold, unyielding hand of the Inquisition, a force that is both inevitable and inescapable within the Imperium. His methodical approach, from the use of the servo skull to the blood sample, underscores the invasive and dehumanizing practices of the Inquisition. The revelation of Selena's true identity as Shridder and her responsibility for the deaths of over 1,000 Imperial lives turns the story on its head. What was initially presented as a mere bureaucratic error is now framed as an act of treachery, whether intentional or not. This accusation transforms Selena from a panicked clerk into a figure of significant interest to the Inquisition, raising questions about the true nature of her actions. Selena's interactions with Cruscious reveal the depths of her fear and desperation. Her pleas for understanding and her insistence that the catastrophe was an accident fall on deaf ears. Cruscious, representing the unyielding justice of the Imperium, shows no sign of empathy. This interaction exemplifies the harsh reality of life under the Imperium, where intent matters little in the face of consequences. Cruscious's rigid adherence to protocol and his lack of compassion highlight the merciless nature of the Inquisition. His belief that every word spoken by Selena is either a lie or a half-truth reflects the deep-seated paranoia that drives the Imperium's internal security forces. This dynamic between the interrogator and his prey underscores the power imbalance inherent in such situations, where the accused has little hope of redemption once marked by the Inquisition. Part 4. Part 4 plunges us into the heart of the action as Selena Malice, or rather Shridder, faces the final stages of her capture and impending interrogation. The narrative is thick with tension as the clock counts down to Exodus, and the characters are forced to confront not just each other but the dire reality of their situation. The relentless rain and the oppressive atmosphere mirror the inescapable fate that seems to await them all. As the story progresses, Selena clings to her last hope of escape, attempting to reason with Cruscious even as the evidence against her mounts. Her claim that she merely misfiled requisitions seems increasingly hollow as Cruscious reveals the true scale of the damage her actions, or inactions, have caused. This moment is crucial, as it strips away any remaining ambiguity about Selena's guilt, at least in the eyes of the Inquisition. Cruscious's determination is unyielding. His monologue reveals the extent of his obsession with bringing Selena to justice, underscoring the Inquisition's merciless pursuit of those it deems traitors. His reference to the order coming from the Lord Commander Militant himself adds a layer of gravitas, emphasizing that Selena's case is not merely a bureaucratic mishap but a matter of high importance within the Imperium. As Cruscious prepares to commence the interrogation aboard the shuttle, his instructions to have the interrogation chair cleaned, restraints tested, and tools sanctified paint a chilling picture of what's to come. This meticulous attention to detail reflects not only the Inquisition's ruthlessness but also Cruscious's personal investment in extracting the truth from Selena, regardless of the methods required. The climax of this part comes as Selena and Cruscious find themselves trapped by a stuck door, with time running out before the shuttle departs. The physical struggle to open the door mirrors the psychological battle between the two, Selena's desperation against Cruscious's cold resolve. The malfunctioning door becomes a symbol of the crumbling control both characters have over the situation, as external forces, be it the storm, fate, or the Imperium's relentless machine, tighten their grip. Selina's character is further fleshed out in this part, as her pleas for mercy and truth are met with increasing skepticism. Her confession of manipulating records and adopting an alias in a desperate attempt to cover her tracks paints her as both a victim and a perpetrator, a figure caught in the machinery of the Imperium, where intentions are secondary to outcomes. This duality makes Selina a compelling character, trapped by her own mistakes in a world that offers no forgiveness. Cruscious, on the other hand, emerges as a figure of almost fanatic dedication. His unwavering belief in the righteousness of his cause and his disdain for anything less than absolute loyalty to the Imperium make him a terrifying antagonist. His interactions with Selina are devoid of empathy. Instead, they are driven by a cold determination to fulfill his duty, regardless of the personal cost to either party. Part 5. Part 5 of The Watcher in the Rain opens with a sense of desperation as Interrogator Stefan Cruscious and the captured Adept Selina Malice, now revealed to be Shridder, find themselves stranded on a sinking platform. The shuttle, their last hope for escape, has departed, leaving them to face the encroaching warp storm and the rising floodwaters. This scene sets the stage for a tense and uncertain journey through the abandoned city as they seek an alternative means of escape. As the reality of their situation sets in, Cruscious formulates a plan to find a smaller craft left behind in the evacuation. The narrative captures the bleakness of their situation, an empty, rain-soaked city slowly sinking into the abyss, with only fleeting chances of survival. Cruscious's command over the situation is clear as he forces Selina to lead the way to the nearest cargo bay, where they hope to find a means of escape. The power dynamics between Cruscious and Selina shift subtly in this part of the story. While Cruscious remains the dominant figure, his reliance on Selina for directions introduces a layer of dependency. Selina, on the other hand, begins to exhibit a quiet defiance, hinting at a deeper resolve that contrasts with her earlier desperation. This interplay adds complexity to their relationship as both characters navigate the fine line between cooperation and manipulation. A key moment occurs when Cruscious notices a figure watching them from the landing platform. This sighting, which Selina dismisses as shadows in the rain, introduces an element of psychological horror. The figure's presence, real or imagined, adds to the growing paranoia, suggesting that they are not as alone as they might think. This ambiguity heightens the tension, leaving both characters and readers questioning what is real and what is a product of fear and stress. The interaction between Cruscious and Selina in this part reveals much about their characters. Cruscious, ever the Inquisitor, remains focused on extracting a confession from Selina, despite their dire circumstances. His threats of prolonged torture and his obsessive need for control reflect his unyielding nature. Selina, however, begins to show signs of resistance, not just physically, but mentally. Her calm assertion that the figure was just shadows in the rain hints at a deeper understanding of their situation, one that Cruscious may not fully grasp. Cruscious's growing paranoia is palpable. His suspicion that Selina might be leading him into an ambush speaks to the deep mistrust that defines relationships within the Imperium. This mistrust is not unfounded. After all, in the Warhammer 40K universe, betrayal is a constant threat. However, the narrative also suggests that Cruscious's paranoia may be clouding his judgment, making him see threats where there are none. This theme of paranoia versus reality is a recurring one in the story, adding layers of psychological complexity to the characters' interactions. Part 6. Part 6 of The Watcher in the Rain finds Cruscious and Selina navigating through the flooded chambers of the abandoned city. The environment is both hostile and unyielding, floodwaters rise rapidly, and the once stable floors are now treacherous, threatening to give way at any moment. The sense of time running out is palpable, as the characters must not only contend with the physical dangers of the city but also with the psychological strain of their situation. As Cruscious and Selina descend into the maintenance vault, the full extent of the city's abandonment becomes clear. The flooded chambers, once bustling with activity, are now silent and deadly. The narrative captures the eerie stillness of the place, where every step is fraught with danger. The characters' movements are slow and deliberate, reflecting their growing awareness that the city itself has become their enemy. The physical strain of wading through the water, combined with the psychological toll of their predicament, begins to take its toll on both characters. Cruscious, despite his resolve, starts to show signs of weariness, while Selina's quiet defiance becomes more pronounced. The once clear power dynamic between them starts to blur as the environment levels the playing field, forcing them to rely on each other for survival. The sense of impending doom is heightened by the sounds of the prisoners left behind in the Exegium, who have somehow been freed from their cells. Their distant cries add to the atmosphere of dread, reminding Cruscious and Selina that they are not alone in this crumbling city. The revelation that the drainage engines have been shut down, leading to the rapid flooding of the chambers, adds a layer of urgency to their journey. The tension between Cruscious and Selina reaches a new peak in Part 6. As they navigate the flooded corridors, their exchanges become sharper, with Cruscious's frustration increasingly apparent. Selina's knowledge of the city, which initially served as an asset, now becomes a source of suspicion for Cruscious. His questioning of her familiarity with the city's layout hints at his deepening paranoia, while Selina's calm responses suggest that she is slowly regaining control over the situation. The dynamic between Cruscious and Selina also reflects the broader collapse of authority in the Imperium. Cruscious's inability to maintain complete control over Selina, exemplified by his reliance on her guidance and the malfunctioning equipment, mirrors the larger theme of the Imperium's fragility. As the city collapses around them, so too does the rigid structure that Cruscious represents, leaving both characters in a state of vulnerability. Part 6 delves into the themes of the collapse of order, survival, and the power of knowledge. The city, once a bastion of Imperial order, is now a decaying ruin, reflecting the fragility of the Imperium's control. The floodwaters symbolize the unstoppable forces of nature and chaos, against which even the might of the Imperium is powerless. Selina's knowledge of the city, gained through years of monotonous service, now becomes her greatest asset, highlighting the theme of knowledge as power in a world where physical strength alone is not enough to survive. Part 7. Part 7 opens with Cruscious and Selina, or Sridhartan, continuing their desperate journey through the ruins of the city. The narrative becomes increasingly claustrophobic as they delve deeper into the submerged chambers, now teeming with lunacy and danger. The weight of their situation is palpable, with every step forward feeling like a descent into chaos and despair. As they navigate the flooded halls, Cruscious and Selina are confronted by the deranged remnants of the city's inhabitants. These individuals, driven mad by their isolation and the crumbling world around them, chant in unison, a disturbing, rhythmic echo of a civilization that once thrived on order. This scene is crucial as it highlights the complete breakdown of the Imperium's control, where even its most basic tenets have been twisted into something dark and unrecognizable. The interaction with the mad inmates adds a new layer of tension to the story. Cruscious, ever the dutiful inquisitor, attempts to maintain order and assert his authority. However, his power is meaningless in the face of the inmates' madness. Selina, meanwhile, remains pragmatic, urging Cruscious to move on and avoid confrontation. This moment underscores the growing divide between them. Cruscious clings to his role and the structure it represents, while Selina increasingly sees the futility in adhering to a system that has already collapsed. The journey through the flooded corridor is marked by a sense of impending doom. The water level continues to rise, and the characters are forced to move quickly, with the physical environment becoming an ever-present threat. The symbolism of the rising water is clear. It represents the inexorable force of chaos, slowly but surely engulfing everything in its path. The characters' struggle to navigate this environment mirrors their internal battles, as they fight to maintain their sanity and purpose in a world that is rapidly losing both. Cruscious's desperation is increasingly evident in this part. His authority, which he wields with confidence, begins to falter as the reality of their situation sets in. His interactions with Selina become more strained, as he struggles to reconcile his role as an inquisitor with the madness that surrounds them. The once clear lines of authority are blurred, leaving Cruscious grappling with his own doubts and fears. Selena, on the other hand, continues to exhibit a pragmatic approach to their situation. Her focus is on survival, and she is willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that goal, even if it means challenging Cruscious's authority. This contrast between Cruscious's adherence to duty and Selena's adaptability highlights the different ways in which individuals cope with extreme circumstances. Selena's growing assertiveness suggests that she is not as defeated as she might initially appear, and her willingness to confront the realities of their situation gives her an edge that Cruscious lacks. Part 8. Part 8 plunges us beneath the waterline, where the environment becomes increasingly hostile. The characters are now navigating through submerged corridors, with the weight of the water pressing against the windows, a constant reminder of the imminent threat of drowning. The tension is thick as they push forward, each step taking them closer to either escape or certain death. The narrative takes a surreal turn as Cruscious and Selena encounter an inmate from the flooded prison cells. This inmate, though seemingly harmless at first, quickly reveals the depth of his madness. His obsessive focus on bureaucratic procedures, even in the face of the apocalypse, highlights the absurdity of the Imperium's obsession with order and control. This moment is both darkly humorous and deeply unsettling, as it underscores the extent to which the Imperium's bureaucratic mindset has infected even the most broken of minds. The interaction with the inmate is a masterclass in tension. Selena attempts to reason with him, using the very language of the Imperium's bureaucracy to navigate the situation. However, the inmate's insanity makes this a futile effort, as he is more concerned with following procedure than with the reality of their situation. Cruscious, frustrated and desperate, is forced to rely on violence to escape, further highlighting the breakdown of order and the rise of chaos. The climax of this part comes with the revelation of the Watcher, a mysterious figure mentioned in the inmate's ramblings. The Watcher, associated with the coming storm, is described in cryptic and ominous terms, adding a layer of supernatural horror to the story. This figure, whether real or imagined, represents the ultimate threat that Cruscious and Selena must face, a force that transcends the physical dangers of their environment and taps into the deepest fears of the human psyche. Cruscious's sanity is clearly fraying in this part. His frustration with the situation, combined with the psychological strain of the environment, leads him to lash out violently. His interactions with Selena become increasingly erratic as he struggles to maintain control over a situation that is rapidly slipping through his fingers. The once confident and authoritative Inquisitor is now a man on the edge, haunted by the possibility that he may not survive this ordeal. Selena, in contrast, seems to gain strength from the chaos around her. Her calm, almost resigned demeanor suggests that she has come to terms with the reality of their situation. Her interactions with Cruscious reveal a growing defiance. She no longer sees him as the figure of authority he once was, but rather as a man who is as lost as she is. This shift in their dynamic adds a new layer of tension to the story, as the power struggle between them becomes more pronounced. Part 9. Part 9 opens with Cruscious awakening in a decontamination cell beneath the governor's palace. His right arm is being treated for a wound, and his body is racked with exhaustion and minor infections following his grueling assignment in the hive slums. As he regains consciousness, he is immediately confronted by his master, Inquisitor Atrox, who demands a report on his recent mission. The conversation that follows is not just a debriefing, it's a brutal psychological examination that lays bare the true nature of Cruscious's past and the horrors he has committed in the name of the Imperium. The exchange between Cruscious and Atrox is both chilling and revealing. Atrox's calm, almost clinical questioning of Cruscious forces him to recount the details of his most recent assignment, an assignment that culminated in the torture and execution of a woman who, as it turns out, was more than just another target. The revelation that this woman was, in fact, Cruscious's own mother adds a deeply personal and tragic dimension to the narrative. The story takes on a new layer of complexity as we see Cruscious struggle with the emotional and moral implications of his actions. Atrox's interrogation is a masterclass in psychological manipulation. He pushes Cruscious to relive the moment of his mother's death, probing for any signs of emotional weakness. Aatrox's insistence on extracting a confession of feeling from Cruscious is a stark reminder of the Inquisition's brutal philosophy, one that demands absolute emotional detachment from its agents. This interaction reveals the core of Cruscious's character, a man who has been so thoroughly conditioned by the Imperium that he can no longer recognize or process his own emotions. The philosophical exchange between Cruscious and Aatrox underscores the story's broader themes of dehumanization and the cost of absolute loyalty. Aatrox's citation of the Exterminus Extremis, Volume 403, Chapter 12, serves as a chilling reminder of the Inquisition's uncompromising doctrine. To conquer the monstrous, we must be yet more monstrous. This passage encapsulates the Inquisition's belief that mercy and pity are weaknesses that can only lead to the downfall of the Imperium. Cruscious's acceptance of this philosophy, despite the personal cost, marks the culmination of his transformation into a true agent of the Inquisition. The interaction between Cruscious and Aatrox in this part is both tragic and horrifying. Aatrox, ever the calculating inquisitor, sees Cruscious not as a person, but as a tool to be shaped and honed for the Imperium's purposes. His complete disregard for Cruscious's emotional well-being is evident as he methodically strips away any semblance of humanity from his apprentice. Cruscious, on the other hand, is revealed to be a man who has been completely broken by his training. His inability to feel anything, even in the face of his mother's death, is a testament to the depths of his conditioning. Cruscious's emotional detachment is both his greatest strength and his most profound tragedy. The fact that he compares the act of killing his mother to mundane tasks like polishing his boots or combing his hair speaks to the extent of his dehumanization. This detachment, while making him an effective agent of the Inquisition, also renders him incapable of experiencing the very emotions that define humanity. This duality is central to Cruscious's character, making him a deeply complex and tragic figure within the narrative. Part 10. Part 10 opens with Selena, or Sritter, desperately trying to rouse Cruscious from his unconscious state. The atmosphere is thick with tension as they are surrounded by the deranged inhabitants of the city, now fully engulfed in the madness brought on by the Watcher's influence. The story's tension reaches its peak as Cruscious must confront not only the physical dangers around him, but also the psychological and emotional demons that have plagued him throughout the narrative. Selena's struggle to escape with Cruscious, while fending off the insane inhabitants, is a powerful moment that highlights the physical and mental exhaustion of the characters. The scene is chaotic and fraught with danger, with Selena displaying a resilience that has been honed by the horrors she has faced. Her determination to save Cruscious, despite everything, speaks to her deep sense of survival and perhaps a lingering hope that there is still something worth saving in him. Cruscious's internal struggle is at the heart of this chapter. As he drifts in and out of consciousness, he is haunted by the voices of the deranged and the echo of his master's words. The narrative blurs the line between reality and hallucination, creating a disorienting and nightmarish atmosphere. Cruscious's attempts to rationalize his actions are met with the overwhelming realization that he can no longer escape the consequences of his deeds. The Watcher, whether a figment of his imagination or a real entity, represents the ultimate judgment, a force that demands he confront the truth about himself. The final confrontation is as much internal as it is external. Cruscious's dialogue with the deranged inhabitants, who speak of the Watcher and the cleansing rain, serves as a mirror to his own internal turmoil. The Watcher is described as a force that washes away delusions, a fitting metaphor for Cruscious's journey. As the storm rages outside, it becomes clear that Cruscious's true battle is not against the physical threats around him, but against the guilt, fear, and doubt that have been festering within him since the beginning. In a moment of clarity, Cruscious finally confronts the reality of his actions. The weight of his guilt, killing his own mother, torturing innocent people, and blind obedience to a corrupt system, comes crashing down on him. This realization is both liberating and devastating. Cruscious's journey has been one of dehumanization, but in this final moment, he regains a small piece of his humanity, only to realize that it may be too late to save himself. Selena's role in this chapter is crucial. She serves as a foil to Cruscious, representing the possibility of survival and redemption, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Her determination to save Cruscious, despite knowing the horrors he has committed, speaks to her own internal struggle between pragmatism and compassion. Selina's character arc is completed as she takes on the role of protector, showing that even in the darkest moments, there is still room for mercy and hope. Part 11. Part 11 begins with a sense of urgency as Cruscious and Selina push forward toward the hangar. The dialogue is brief and tense, reflecting the high stakes and the physical exhaustion both characters are experiencing. Their mission is simple: find a ship and get out. But the psychological weight of their journey adds layers of complexity to what would otherwise be a straightforward escape. As they reach the stairs leading to the hangar, the physical and mental toll of their journey becomes increasingly evident. Cruscious's struggle to focus, despite Selina's commands, highlights his deteriorating mental state. The weight of everything he has witnessed and done is catching up to him, threatening to paralyze him at the moment when action is most critical. This moment serves as a powerful metaphor for the internal battle Cruscious has been fighting throughout the narrative. Cruscious's hesitation as they reach the stairs is more than just physical exhaustion, it's the culmination of his inner conflict. The line between reality and madness has been blurring for him, and his inability to fully process the horrors he has experienced is now manifesting in a moment of paralyzing indecision. Selina's urgent command, "On your feet, Cruscious, now," is not just a call to action, but a reminder of the stakes they face. This is the moment where Cruscious must decide whether to succumb to his fears or push forward in the face of them. As they finally reach the hangar, the narrative shifts from the psychological to the physical. The hangar represents the final barrier between the characters and their potential escape. The open bay doors offer a glimpse of hope, but the looming storm outside serves as a reminder that they are not safe yet. The juxtaposition of the open doors and the impending storm creates a powerful visual metaphor for the thin line between survival and destruction, a line that Cruscious and Selina are teetering on. Part 12 begins with Cruscious and Selina reaching the cargo bay. The atmosphere is thick with tension as they find the bay still open, but the floodwater is rising. The physical dangers they face are mirrored by the psychological ones, as Cruscious's mental state continues to deteriorate. The presence of the Watcher, which has haunted them throughout their journey, now becomes the central focus of Cruscious's fears, forcing him to confront the truth about himself and the horrors he has committed. As they enter the cargo bay, the narrative paints a vivid picture of the rising floodwaters and the open bay doors, symbols of both hope and impending doom. The sight of the ships offers a chance at escape, but Cruscious's fixation on the Watcher threatens to derail their efforts. This moment is a powerful culmination of the psychological tension that has been building throughout the story, as Cruscious's fear and guilt manifest in his obsession with the Watcher. Cruscious's breakdown in this chapter is the climax of his character arc. His insistence on confronting the Watcher, despite Selina's desperate pleas to focus on escaping, highlights the depth of his psychological torment. The Watcher, which has been an ominous presence throughout the narrative, represents the embodiment of Cruscious's guilt and self-loathing. Selina's revelation that the Watcher reflects all the evil you have ever done forces Cruscious to confront the reality of his actions. This confrontation is both terrifying and cathartic, as Cruscious must finally face the truth about himself. As the storm bears down on them, Selina's focus shifts entirely to survival. Her attempts to snap Cruscious out of his trance and get him to pilot the ship are filled with urgency and desperation. The rising water and the imminent arrival of the storm create a ticking clock scenario, where every second counts. Selina's determination to survive contrasts sharply with Cruscious's descent into madness, creating a tense and dramatic final sequence that keeps the reader on edge. Cruscious's ultimate fear is laid bare in this final chapter. The Watcher, which he perceives as standing right behind Selina, is the culmination of all his unresolved guilt and fear. Cruscious's refusal to look away, despite knowing that it will destroy him, is a tragic reflection of his inability to escape the consequences of his actions. His final confrontation with the Watcher is not just a battle against an external force, but a struggle with his own inner demons, demons that he can no longer ignore. Selina's role as the voice of reason becomes even more critical in this chapter. Her repeated attempts to bring Cruscious back to reality, to get him to focus on their escape, highlight her resilience and practicality. Selina's character arc is completed as she takes on the responsibility of not only her own survival but also Cruscious's. Her ability to keep moving forward, despite the overwhelming odds, is a testament to her strength and determination. Part 13. Part 13 begins with the cast barely escaping the collapsing city. As they board a small maintenance ship, the storm rages behind them, and Cruscious struggles to pilot them to safety. The physical dangers of the storm are compounded by Cruscious's deteriorating mental state, as the psychological horrors he has faced manifest in his mind with increasing intensity. This chapter is the culmination of everything the story has been building towards, with the characters forced to confront their own demons as well as each other. The escape from the city is fraught with tension, as Cruscious battles both the storm outside and the storm within his own mind. His hallucinations, particularly the haunting vision of his mother, reach a peak in this chapter, forcing him to confront the guilt and fears that have been festering within him. Selina's efforts to keep them on course are met with resistance as Cruscious's grip on reality slips, culminating in a dramatic struggle for control of the ship. Cruscious's descent into madness is vividly portrayed through his interactions with Selina and the environment. The storm outside becomes a reflection of his internal chaos, with every flash of lightning and gust of wind representing the turmoil he is experiencing. His hallucinations, particularly the vision of his mother, serve as a powerful metaphor for the guilt that has been consuming him. Cruscious's inability to separate reality from his delusions is a key element in this chapter, as it drives the narrative to its inevitable and tragic conclusion. Selina's revelation is the most shocking moment of the entire story. As Cruscious struggles to regain control, Selina calmly reveals the truth: she is not the innocent scribe she appeared to be. Instead, she confesses to being a mastermind of bureaucratic sabotage, responsible for the deaths of thousands of Imperial soldiers. This revelation turns the narrative on its head, transforming Selina from a victim into a villain of unparalleled cunning and ruthlessness. Her confession is delivered with chilling calmness, highlighting the depth of her corruption and the extent to which she has manipulated those around her. Cruscious's reaction to Selina's confession is one of shock and betrayal. Throughout the story, he has struggled with his own sense of guilt and the weight of his duty as an inquisitor. Selina's confession shatters whatever moral certainty he had left, revealing the true depth of the corruption within the Imperium. The dynamic between the two characters shifts dramatically in this moment, as Selina takes control of the narrative, revealing herself to be the true architect of the chaos that has unfolded. Selina's true nature is revealed in all its horrifying glory in this chapter. Her calm and calculated confession, delivered as she tends to Cruscious's wounds, shows just how deeply she has embraced the darkness within her. Selina's manipulation of the Imperial bureaucracy, turning the very systems designed to maintain order into tools of chaos and death, is a masterstroke of villainy. Her revelation that she has been orchestrating these deaths for over a year, driven by a desire for control and power, paints her as a figure of almost incomprehensible evil, one who has found a way to wreak havoc on a scale few could imagine. Part 14 begins with Greta Vern, now fully revealed as a master manipulator, making contact with the crew of a passing ship after the death of Interrogator Stefan Cruscious. The tension in this final chapter is palpable as Greta attempts to explain her situation to the crew, using her cunning and the final Vox recording of Cruscious to secure her survival. This chapter is the culmination of the story's exploration of power, manipulation, and the terrifying lengths to which individuals will go to survive. The interaction between Greta and the crew is a masterclass in psychological tension. Greta, now fully aware of the power she wields, uses Cruscious's death as leverage, presenting the final Vox recording as a means to secure her passage. The crew, already on edge due to their dire situation, are faced with a moral and practical dilemma, whether to bring Greta aboard and face the consequences or to use her and Cruscious's body to their advantage. The moral decay of the crew is starkly evident in this final chapter. Their conversation reveals the desperation and madness that has taken hold of them after weeks of starvation and isolation. The captain's decision to bring Greta aboard, not for rescue, but for the grim purpose of survival, underscores the theme of the Imperium's moral decay. A universe where the line between humanity and monstrosity is blurred beyond recognition. The crew's willingness to turn to cannibalism, driven by their desperate circumstances, is a horrifying reflection of the lengths to which the Imperium's servants are pushed in their relentless struggle for survival. Greta's manipulation of the situation is chilling in its cold precision. She presents herself as a victim, playing on the crew's desperation and their need for a scapegoat. Her calm demeanor, even in the face of her captor's monstrous plans, highlights her complete control over the narrative. Greta's ability to survive, first through bureaucratic sabotage and now through psychological manipulation, cements her as one of the most dangerous characters in the story, a true product of the Imperium's harsh and unforgiving system. Greta's final victory is not just over the crew, but over the system that created her. Her survival is a testament to her cunning and adaptability, traits that have allowed her to navigate the treacherous world of the Imperium with ruthless efficiency. Greta's calm acceptance of the crew's monstrous plans, coupled with her manipulation of the situation to her advantage, reveals her as a character who has fully embraced the darkness within her. This final interaction with the crew serves as a fitting conclusion to her character arc, as she emerges not just as a survivor, but as a victor in a universe that rewards cruelty and cunning. The crew's desperation is palpable in this final chapter. Their moral and ethical boundaries have been eroded by the harsh realities of their situation, leaving them willing to commit atrocities in order to survive. The captain's decision to bring Greta aboard, not out of compassion, but as a means to stave off starvation, highlights the theme of moral decay that runs throughout the story. This interaction serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which the Imperium's servants are pushed in their struggle for survival, a struggle that often leaves them more monstrous than the enemies they fight. Part 14 delves deeply into the themes of survival, moral decay, and the corruption of power. Greta's survival, secured through manipulation and deceit, serves as a commentary on the corrupting influence of power in the Warhammer 40K universe. The crew's descent into madness and cannibalism highlights the moral decay that is a byproduct of the Imperium's harsh and unforgiving system. This final chapter suggests that in a universe as dark as the 40K setting, survival often comes at the cost of one's humanity, a cost that Greta is all too willing to pay. This final chapter ties into the broader Warhammer 40K lore by exploring the inherent contradictions and moral complexities of the Imperium. The story's exploration of power, survival, and moral decay is a reflection of the larger themes that define the 40K universe, where the struggle for survival often leads to acts of unspeakable horror. Greta's ability to manipulate the system to her advantage, despite the cost, is a testament to the dark realities of life within the Imperium, where the strong prey on the weak, and survival is often a matter of cunning and ruthlessness. In conclusion, Part 14 of The Watcher in the Rain brings the story to a dark and haunting conclusion. The themes of survival, moral decay, and the corruption of power are explored in depth, with Greta's final victory serving as a chilling commentary on the nature of power in the Warhammer 40K universe. The crew's descent into madness and their willingness to commit atrocities highlight the moral complexities that define life within the Imperium, leaving us with a powerful and unsettling reflection on the cost of survival. As we look back on the entire narrative, The Watcher in the Rain stands as a grim reminder of the dark realities of life within the Warhammer 40K universe. The story's exploration of psychological horror, intense character development, and deep thematic resonance makes it a powerful addition to the lore, offering a nuanced and unsettling look at the human cost of the Imperium's relentless pursuit of order and control. Thank you for joining us on this journey through The Watcher in the Rain by Alec Worley. We hope you found this analysis insightful and thought-provoking. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the Warhammer 40K universe, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos. The Warhammer 40K universe is vast and filled with countless stories waiting to be explored, so stay tuned for more in-depth analyses and discussions as we continue to navigate this grimdark world.